So we're going to be doing something a little bit differently today. So we're going to be putting all 126 Dota 2 heroes on a political compass. If you don't know what a political compass is, I would recommend just Googling it. I have a couple of reservations to make, disclaimers, you could say. The first is that I am very stupid. I don't know anything, and I'm not responsible for anything that I say or do. So that's first. Second, I am an American. This means that my political beliefs and understandings stem from growing up and living in the United States. So keep that in mind. Third, my personal political beliefs are actually the same as you. I actually agree with everything that you believe. So take this time now, pause the video if you need, say your political beliefs out loud, and then imagine me, I'm sitting here right now nodding my head saying, so true, bestie. Those are my beliefs. The fourth is that it's not that serious. The final disclaimer is that because the hero icons are very chunky, I'm going to need to reset this screen every now and again, so you're not going to see all 126 heroes. It's a limitation of the medium, but if you've been watching this channel, you know that I have a firm belief that if you can't do something well, you should just do it bad. So, with that in mind, the journey of 126 political spectrum inferences and such begins with the first hero, and that hero is Abaddon, as it always is whenever I do these kinds of videos. So, Abaddon, to me, he's very much so got himself together. He's got 401,000 reasons to be happy, I think. He's definitely got himself set right, and he is a member of aristocracy. Don't forget, he's like royalty of his own, like, gross family. So I do think he is authoritarian. And I think he's a little bit anarchist because his economic setup is, like, already set the way it wants to be, but, like, it's hard to say for sure. So I'm going to put him right here. So he's definitely just on the authoritarian spectrum. Left, right, they mean nothing to him. Where are his crops? He needs his crops. He's a medieval aristocrat. That's what they like. Alchemist. So, as a profession being to transform things into gold, he is probably on the libertarian side. A lot of the magic users are going to be libertarian just as a result of being magicians. It's a very individualistic thing to be a magician. You don't want anyone taking control of you and your stuff, especially not Alk, because he's like a mad scientist. Reminder that he's the guy on the back. This guy on the left is actually Alchemist Monster. Alchemist Monster probably doesn't vote. Alk himself votes for sure, and he votes very libertarian. I'm also going to say that he's one of those guys who thinks that, like, if you don't like corporations, just stop buying things. I'm going to put him a little bit further on the right side. So I think he's over here. And he's also quite independently wealthy, so. Ancient Apparition, I don't think he has any political beliefs. Well, no, I do. I think Ancient Apparition is one of those single issue voters who the single issue that he cares about is so stupid and asinine that it makes you really wonder what their deal is. He's been sending letters to Town Hall for 15 years for them to make the manholes wider so that more children can fall down them and land in the sewers. No one knows why, maybe not even AA himself. And I can't think of any kind of political body that promotes that sort of activism, but maybe he can start one himself. Anti-mage, very much so authoritarian. He wants to put all mages in jail or hell. So he's definitely on the authoritarian side. His economic policy is yet to be determined. He comes from like a bunch of monks living in a monastery, which makes me think that it's more on the left. That's kind of a communal living situation. He's definitely authoritarian, though. We're going to put him up here. But the left is, how left he is truly up to interpretation. Arc Warden. So he's a weird case because he's the third ancient, right? Being the third ancient obviously means that you want to be a bit of an authoritarian, but he also wants to put down both of the ancients as well. So he's a bit of a curious case. I'm going to say that he is authoritarian a little bit, but then he's also all the way to the right. He's like over here, I think. I think he's very much so that like the economy should be controlled by groups. I think he himself views himself as a group. He has a second guy as a part of him, so he can incorporate not as just one but two different LLCs to manage his assets intelligently. He's very far on the right and only a little bit authoritarian. We're going to move him up here to make it clear that he's not in the middle. There we go. Axe does not know what voting is. He is probably an anarchist, which would put him down here for sure. He's very much so a might makes right sort of guy. And but he also believes very strongly in organized military operations being done for potentially economic purposes. It's hard to. He's another one where it's kind of hard between the left and the right, but he's definitely libertarian. He's like full on like murder should be legal, or perhaps there shouldn't be laws in the first place. He got to where he is by killing a metric ton of people. We're gonna put him over here. Maybe like here, maybe like over here. Okay, there we go. Bane, another member of the single issue voter thing. His thing is that you should be force fed melatonin and it should be in school lunches so that kids go to sleep more often so he can bother them while they sleep. He's another single issue voter who is very strange. I think that he is. Bane is your neighbor who you have no idea what their political beliefs are, but they seem like an alright guy. We're going to go with also sort of in the middle. He and AA are going to have a little party up here. I'm going to say that AA is slightly more authoritarian because of those potholes that he wants children to fall down. That is sort of a government interfering in one's life, forcing their children to fall down potholes. So Bane is going to go in libertarian. Batrider is like way down here. Batrider is like, you know those male feminists who the only issue they care about is free the nipple? That is Batrider. That is Batrider's shtick, for sure. So he's going to go down here, but he doesn't actually understand any of the policies. He just like shows up at women's rallies to try to score with mixed results. Beastmaster is very much so. Here's the thing. He lives in the woods, right? But I think that he would be the kind of hippie who's like hyper involved in political environmentalism. He's definitely left. That's for sure. He's probably still on the libertarian side. We're gonna put him here. He's a very respectable kind of member of his ilk, though. He's a cool guy. Not he's worse. He's more outdoorsy than a park ranger. I'll tell you that much. He also smells like shit. I've had multiple requests, by the way, for a smell tier list. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. Or if it does, it might. Yeah, maybe it will. I don't know. I only have so many ideas. Bloodseeker. Whew, he is, first off, authoritarian because his whole thing is the flayed gods and the society that he lives in, and he's willing to murder indiscriminately in order to make them happy. Which also makes me think that he's sort of on the right as far as like economic developments go. We're going to put him almost the opposite of anti-mage for that purpose. Bounty Hunter. He's a weird one because traditionally bounty hunters are agents of the state, right? That's primarily who places bounties on people in order to get them back in jail, usually when they skip bail. But in his case, I don't think the medieval world of Dota 2 has a government issuing bounties, or maybe they are. I think he's just sort of out and about. I think you could pay him $20 to punch a random guy and he would do it. Which honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, bounty hunter really is more of a hitman than anything else, huh? And a hitman as your job is pretty darn libertarian. We're going to put him down here a little bit to the left. Brewmaster. Ooh, okay, so when I think of people who drink a ton of beer, I think right-wing, slightly libertarian. I think he's kind of like a second year of college conservative, that sort of thing, where it's like, well, I'm economically conservative, but socially liberal. I think that is Brewmaster, but he like never changed going into his fourth year of poli-sci, and he holds the line. We're going to put him down here. Bristleback. Another hero who I don't think can vote, or maybe he can legally, but he sure as hell doesn't. Gets into fights a lot at bars. I think he's the kind of guy who would like get slightly wasted and tell you, man, the government needs to do something about X. Because by putting the onus on the government, he himself doesn't have to do anything. And so I don't think he has any set in stone political beliefs, but whatever beliefs he does have, he wants enforced by the government with an iron fist. We're going to put him here. Broodmother. A lot of people vote based on how they predict the political outcome of their vote will have the bearing that it will have on their kids. Broodmother is probably the number one thing. She probably is a member of Moms Against Drunk Driving, which is I don't know a whole lot about that organization, but on the surface, it's a good name. Simple and clean. I would love to see an organization of moms for drunk driving. Those would be an interesting group. I think she's on the authoritarian side, a little bit more left. We're going to put her here. Which is funny to see her in anti-mage. Well, I guess Broodmother doesn't use magic, so there's, aside from the fact that she is a giant spider, I don't see why they wouldn't get along. Centaur Warrunner. Axe but informed. That is what Centaur Warrunner is. He is a gladiator for a living, which makes me think that he's probably around here. Definitely more on the libertarian side of personal freedom. He believes that you do have a God-given right to murder other people for entertainment in order to sustain yourself economically. And who can disagree with a fiscal policy like that? I think he's going to go over here. Chaos Knight is a hyper-libertarian. There's going to be a couple heroes that I describe as like weird uncle libertarian, and he is absolutely one of them. In regards to his economic policies, who has a goddamn clue? I think is it the strong ionic force? I don't know. All the fundamentals are based on some nerd shit, and I'm not a nerd. I'm doing something only that really cool people would be able to do. Chen, hyper authoritarian. He is like at the top. And he's super devoted to like organizations over people, considering his stance on the church and those who leave it. I think he's like over here. I think Chen is solidly like at the top of the authoritarian ladder, pretty far to the right. Clinks. He does serve a king. He is a Fletcher of, well, his title is the Bone Fletcher, which implies he makes his own arrows, which is pretty libertarian of him. That's pretty self-serving. I do think but he also serves a king, and he's very proud of that. We're gonna go here, but I feel like being a giant flaming burning skeleton does give you a little bit more of a sense of individuals over organizations. He has clearly been betrayed by the organizations that he dedicated his life to, and I think that empowered him a little bit to be a little bit more about the individual. We're gonna put him here, but he's a confusing case. You can make a lot of arguments for Clinks on pretty much any side. Clockwork. Clockwork is the guy who sets up a vending stand at every political conference, no matter what, just to sell lemonade. He sees it as more of an economic opportunity than anything else. I do think he's left. I think if you came out as trans to Clockwork, he would like pat you on the back and then call you sport if you were female to male. I don't know what he would call you if you were male, or what's the other one? I don't know what he would call you then. Clockwork would be pretty supportive of you. I think he's like slightly libertarian because he's a bit of a mad scientist himself. We're gonna put him here next to Beastmaster, which is kind of a funny combination. Crystal Maiden is like, ooh. I'm thinking like white suburban mom who does not cancel out her husband's vote whatsoever. I think she would fall for political psyops like crazy. Authoritarian, but she's a mage. Mages go libertarian. Just off of her like personal demeanor, I think she's like here. She has probably a lot of really weird political beliefs that she will not talk about outside of people that she already knows would agree with her. So we're gonna put her here. A lot of Dota heroes on the right so far. That might balance out soon. Darkseer, ooh, how does he vote? I think he, like, given his career in military and his sort of general demeanor, I think he's pretty right. Does it go under? I think he's all the way over here. I think he's very much so organizations over people. I think he's a numbers type of guy. I think he's like, he would never get into an argument on the internet, but he would share a lot of beliefs with the people who are over here that would get into a lot of arguments on the internet. I do think he is staunchly right-wing. Libertarian, authoritarian, I couldn't say. Maybe a little bit. We're going to put him right here. He, like, the tiniest leaning of authoritarianism. Dark Willow, she votes the way all of her friends tell her to vote. She is probably on the left a little bit libertarian. We're going to put her also over here in what might be the most powerful pack in all of Dota 2 voting is the union between Clockwork and Beastmaster and Dark Willow. Who will join them? We can only wonder. Dawnbreaker. Oof. She's a weirdo as well. She also serves a god. She's been around forever. Old people tend to go right / authoritarian. But she also is looking out for people with her ultimate. I'm not sure if we're counting the gameplay and trying to create... Is she the fourth member? I don't think so. I think she is pretty liberal, but like a little bit to the right. I think she's got a bit of an aggro soccer mom to her. We're going to put her right here. Dazzle. Ooh. Definitely a little bit more authoritarian. He's another person who belongs to a religious institution that he is really down for, maybe even to an excessive degree. And I want to put him on the left, and I couldn't tell you why. No, this makes sense. I think he very much so is like lives in the woods with a commune with a bunch of people. He's got a bit of a cult leader vibe to him, which I think might actually be mentioned in his lore somewhere, maybe on an item. He's going to go on the left on the authoritarian side of things, but he's a little shaky as well. Death Prophet, another character who does not vote because she is dead and her ID or whatever doesn't, she can't register. Let's think for a second on her. The heart says that she would be, she actually is Crystal, she and Crystal Maiden are the same. She's the same as Crystal Maiden. She's got some absurd political beliefs, but she keeps it low key. When I was younger, I was once at a family function for some family friends who lived a little bit further away. So like I knew the main family, but I didn't know all of their friends that they were families with. And the mom came up to us and we were talking about something. And I was like, yeah, we were talking about dinosaurs. Yeah, dinosaurs. That's what it was. We were talking about like, oh, what's your favorite dinosaur? Because when we were kids, we cared a lot about dinosaurs. I'm like 18, 19. And she's like, oh, dinosaurs back when they roamed the earth. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, yeah, back then with the Leviathans and the Behemoths. And I was like, what? And she was like, the Behemoths? And I was like, okay. And then I just kind of walked away because I was weirded out. I later found out that she was like an extreme biblical literalist who had some insane political beliefs that were related to the earth actually being like literally 2,000 years old. And that dinosaurs were around in like the year 400. I think about her a lot. That's what Death Prophet is, by the way. That's the reason I was telling that story. Disruptor. Staunch right-wing authoritarian. I think he's like up here, actually. He's solidly... First off, war leader, comes from a Gloaty. Weathermancer, so he wants to be in charge. Not only is he an authoritarian, he's like I am the authority type of authoritarian. That's where he is. So he's going to go up here in the top right. Doom. See, the problem with Doom is you're asking me where the literal devil goes on the political compass, and that's a difficult thing to rate because it reveals a lot about oneself. And remember that I agree with everything that you agree with politically, so it's difficult to put him anywhere in particular. I do think he's probably like down here because I think he's libertarian in the sense that he's like, do what you like, brother. But it's iffy. It's iffy. I'm gonna move these a little bit. Maybe we can fit all the heroes on. We'll see. DK, very much so libertarian. Reminder that he was on a personal quest to kill a bunch of dragons, and then a dragon bit him, and then he became a sort of dragon. He's sort of a were-dragon, which a lot of people forget about, and that's probably something that is not the most socially acceptable thing to be in the Dota 2 universe. I'm going to say he's a little bit on the libertarian side, but he's also a knight. He's sort of a, he just wants to grill, He doesn't really care about all this political mumbo-jumbo. There will be other heroes that join him, but I don't think he's a true centrist either. I think he votes for whoever has the funniest ads on TV. John Dota should be kind of in the middle, but we'll put him like here. Yeah, we'll put him like here. He's a little bit left because of what he learned in some wacky college classes he took. And then he's slightly on the libertarian side. There we go. Drow Ranger. Oh, he is not a member of the pack, though. He's not a member of the pack. Drow Ranger. Staunchly libertarian. There was a period in American politics where a lot of politicians were pretending to be an ethnicity that they were not. That was kind of my favorite era of American politics. Drow Ranger, being named Drow Ranger and not being a drow, sort of fits that. So we're going to put her a little bit to the left, but like very libertarian. She's like down here. Not an extension of the power hour over here. Earth Spirit. Chinese monk style character, belongs to a religious organization, is also a rock, and is also a god. He's probably very authoritarian. He's probably like up here. But I imagine he's like a I think he's pretty far left too at the same time. Uh I think he's very much so like groups of people should not exceed 50 because that's the maximum number of people where they can maintain max social cohesion, and that's why WoW guilds are 50 people big. Or maybe they made him bigger. I don't know. I don't play WoW. Nor do I know anything about human cohesion. I don't know anybody. I don't go outside. Earthshaker. Another staunch environmentalist, I think. But he's also, like, I think he is authoritarian because his whole shtick is like, the world is ending, we need to do something about it, and no one's doing anything about it. So I do think he is rather authoritarian. I also think he is a believer in the power of cohesion and organizations. I think he's actually right next to Chen. I think he's right here. I think they don't like the fact that they vote for the same guys, but they absolutely do. Though they themselves personally would not get along at all. Elder Titan, can it get more authoritarian than literally the guy who made everything? I don't think so. And then I don't imagine he's particularly far left or right, to be completely honest. We're going to put him here in authoritarian, just right in the middle. There is one hero that is more authoritarian than him, and we'll get to him. Don't worry. I kind of already have picked out which heroes are going to be at the furthest extent of all this. Speaking of which, Chaos Knight needs to move a little bit here to make room for that hero later on. Ember Spirit, very similar to Earth Spirit. I think most of the spirits are going to be here, except for Storm, who will be somewhere very different. Enchantress, she is the next member of the voting block of the Power Hour. This is the most powerful group of Dota heroes to sway to your political side. We're going to get them a little bit closer together to make room. This is an unlikely alliance of people who have completely different reasons for voting the way that they do. Even Enchantress and Beastmaster, who are quite similar, I think have very different political opinions. Enigma. Up there with Brood, he's definitely a father against drunk driving, I'll tell you that much. He needs to keep the Eidolons safe. We're going to put him here, and he also writes letters to Town Hall opposing AA's proposal to make the manholes wider so children can fall down them. He's going to go here. Faceless Void. Also staunchly apolitical. I don't think that he has any particular political beliefs at all, aside from the fact that he wants to kill Klaz and take over the Klazarim time realm or whatever. But do we even really know what Klaz is? Klazarim is the name of the place. I think he is a bit of a might makes right kind of guy, but I think he's a little more chill about it. I think he's a little bit more individualistic when it comes to the economic policies of Klazarim. We're going to put him down here a little bit to the left. Grimstroke. Let's think. He killed his entire clan, like Itachi Uchiha, and his wife is dead. I think he's on the right because he's got the divorced dad thing going on, and that matters quite a bit. I don't think he particularly cares about authoritarianism versus libertarianism. We're going to put him here. We're going to put him here so that there's a little bit more room for another hero to go here later. We might be able to get through this whole thing without actually having to reset, which would be quite impressive, I think, that Tier List Maker could handle that. Gyrocopter, also a ex-military guy, which makes me think that he leans right authoritarian, but he's also a bit of a mad scientist in the context of Dota. We're going to put him here. Wow, he's old as shit. He's old as shit. I think we put him like here. He's going to move a little bit further right and a little bit more authoritarian. He needs his pension checks. Hoodwink. Hoodwink is probably also in the environmentalist corner. Probably a little bit more libertarian because I think she's also a bounty hunter. I think she's like here, right? She's the one who Batrider tries to hit on at the feminist rallies, and she's not having none of it. Huskar is... There's a Facebook page that I've seen a couple times. I do not use Facebook, but it's called something to the effect of like libertarian uncles with Asian wives. And it's like a Facebook group. And I do think that Huskar belongs to that Facebook group and is a moderator. There is one other hero who I think he shares this title with, who we'll be talking about later. I'll be sure not to forget him. That's a little spoiler for all the true Dota 2 PowerPoints fans out there. Invoker. Invoker is an interesting case. I'm trying to think, like, first off, authoritarian. No, he's not an interesting case. He's actually all the way up here. he's all the way up here. He is might makes right the character, but from an intellectual standpoint, he works out at the gym. He's also clearly authoritarian. Have you heard the way he talks to everyone else? He's up there and he's a slam dunk. It's funny that we had both of these right after each other. Still definitely more heroes on the right so far, but we'll see how that transcends. Io. He is here. This is where Io is. 100%. I don't even know why I thought about it. Before I even opened up this tier list, I was like, I bet Io is all the way over there. And I was right. Io is indeed the furthest left a human being can get. But I don't particularly think that he's libertarian or authoritarian. He's very much so like everyone can make their own roads. Which makes me think that he should be a little bit more libertarian, but it's fine. He's going to be all the way to the left. That's his shtick. He thinks that groups of people should not be bigger than 2. Jakiro. Jakiro is 2 dudes. They, them. They, them. That pushes it left. And they're a dragon. I think Jakiro is down here-ish. It's questionable. We're going to hope that that works. Have I lost the ability to move character? Okay, no, we're good. We're going to scooch people around a little bit to try to make more room for more heroes. If I can fit all 126 heroes on this, the world owes me $1. Juggernaut did not kill his whole clan. His clan got murdered by something else, except for that one girl whose name I can't remember with the axes. He's like a traveling warrior. I think he's also very apolitical. He also stinks. I think he's like somehow here. I don't think there's any political issues he cares about other than maintaining his ability to go around and challenge people to duels, Miyamoto Musashi style. So we're going to put him a little bit on the libertarian side, but really left or right, he could go either way. Keeper of the Light. Old as shit. Probably the oldest. Or is Dawnbreaker the same age? He's definitely up here, though, I'll tell you this much. And he doesn't believe in anybody, and he's got some political beliefs that fit just fine on the right, and some social views as well. Well, yeah, we're going to put him on the authoritarian side of things. Kez is, remember when you were a kid and your like political affiliations would like swap back and forth every 2.5 months? So you would be like ultra liberal and then ultra conservative, and then like your social views would be completely all over the place because you were a special little snowflake. That is sort of what Kez is, which means that he is constantly bouncing around this chart like the VHS screensaver. He's like, boop, boop, boop. I'm giving myself a headache doing that. I do think he settles down to be like a power of friendship liberal. I think he's like here. Yeah, but who knows? At any given moment, his voting history probably looks like a zebra, just back and forth, no matter what. Kunkka, another military man. He's an admiral. An admirable admiral. The very model of a modern major general. We're going to put him in the authoritarian side of things a little bit to the right. I think where he wound up is actually where he goes. But unlike Crystal Maiden and Death Prophet and Bloodseeker, he is actually informed about his political beliefs, and he does what he does because he genuinely believes it. So good for him. Legion Commander. More military stuff. I think she's like solidly, I think she's a little bit more libertarian actually. She's a bit of like the cool thing you see in movies where like the Vietnam vet who like smokes weed now and that means that he's cool. We're gonna assume that Elsie is sort of like that when she's not on the job. I think Elsie on the job is very much so over here, but you know, when she's in the voting booth and no one can see, she's probably a little bit further left than people might realize. Her own personal life choices may or may not be influencing my decision. Speaking of goats, here's Leshrac. The He's so weird. He kind of just wants everything to suck. And I think wanting everything to suck falls into the authoritarian camp. But left or right is really a mystery for him. I think he wants people a little bit less organized for the purpose of making them miserable. So we're going to put him over here for now. But you could make a very solid argument that he should be on the other end of the stick. Lich. We're going to do Lich and then we're going to take a break. Lich is a funny one, man. What is his deal? I mean, we know his deal. He fell down a well and he had to chill there forever, which is tough. The bottomless pit was not actually bottomless. The bottomless pit operator didn't show up to work the day they threw down Lich. He's an ice wizard. I think he's libertarian, but I also think that like he would be fine if you were cut from a little bit of a different cloth. I think he's like here. I'm not very confident on this though. So feel free to yell at me if you want. The Lich is actually something else. Okay, we're gonna take a small break. Hello, cat. My cat is here. All right, starting again with a Life Stealer. He is definitely so. Life Stealer is actually a funny one to come back on because remember he is a wizard inside of the head of Life Stealer, which I think changes things quite a bit. Usually you expect him to be a little bit more authoritarian, but I actually think he's down here. He's a wizard. The wizard clearly committed a crime and thought it was within his rights to mind control another human being in order to escape because he was more powerful than that human being. So I do think he is libertarian on the right side, but only ever so slightly. I'm also incorporating the politics of the guy who was like chained to a wall for 10,000 years. And he himself is probably a little bit more forgiving when it comes to the punitive system. So we're gonna put him on the right, but only slightly, and because it's a wizard. Lena is like a super. I think Lena is super LGBT pro rights without having ever actually met an LGBT person. Is that fair to say? No, she probably goes to the club a lot. She probably meets a few. I retract my previous statement. She's definitely down here though. She's another one of the feminists that Batrider hits on and makes no progress with. Lion, definitely authoritarian, definitely right. But how high up the ladder does he go? That's the question. We're going to put him here. We're going to put him here. Lone Druid, another staunch environmentalist. We're going to put him over here. He's probably super far left. He is lone, which makes me think that he does not believe that entrusting the economy to large groups of people is a good idea. Except he also is a bear, so he's a bit of a hypocrite. We're going to put him over here. He's pretty close to Io when it comes to political beliefs. Luna, authoritarian as hell. Probably also pretty right wing. She doesn't trust people to make their own decisions at all. I can guarantee you that. I wish I could push them off a little bit to make more room. Oh, can I? Slowly but sure. Okay, it turns out I can, but I have to do it like this. Thank you, Toyless Maker. This is so dumb. Godlike website design that I'm able to do this. She's right up here with the gang. There we go. Okay. Maybe we can do 126. Dragon Knight is kind of hiding in a little hole over there, so it was Brood. Lycan. Very libertarian. Probably a little bit on the right-wing side. Remember that I think his origin story is he, like, murdered... We're going to put him here. We're going to put Alchemist here. Lycan's story is that he wound up killing the royal family that he was, like, the dog runner for. So that's pretty libertarian of you to kill members of aristocracy, even if you did have, like, beef to do it. The Alchemist is cracking me up. He doesn't necessarily... He's more like... If you've played Tekken, there's that bit where, like, martial law comes in Tekken 8, and his intro quote is like, "I hate rich people!" And I think that that's a little bit of where Lycan comes from, too. Magnus. Definitely left. I mean, he came from a rhino commune. Is he authoritarian? Maybe. Maybe. We're going to make him make Dark Willow look silly over here. Marcy. Marcy is a grown woman who goes to gay clubs on weekday nights. We're going to put her... I don't want to block anyone. We might need the Grand Reset soon. I was talking about how maybe we won't need it, but I think we actually will. We're We're going to put her here for now. There's just no way to fit 126 heroes when the blocks are this big. If it was only the faces, it could maybe be done, but I can't do that. Mars. Also a god. I think a big part of his lore is that he like no longer wanted to wage war though. I think he's also up there. Who was the character? LC. He's kind of the same shtick, but I think he is a little bit more authoritarian than your average pot smoker. So I'm gonna put him on the left here. Snake Lady. Snake Lady is, I mean, her whole mission is very apolitical. The vast majority of Dota heroes are completely apolitical, but in her case, I think it stems from like were they killed by the gods? I can't remember if not or so. We're gonna put her here. I think she is slightly authoritarian and she wants to be the one in charge. She thinks people should obey what they are told to do. She's also a murderous psychopath, but kind of justified, low-key. There we go. Meepo, Dirtbag Left, Come Town Podcast Enjoyer. He is very much so Dirtbag Left. He takes every opportunity he can to call his friends slurs because he knows that they are chill with it. There's this like kind of block is all taken up. We can do this. We're gonna reset soon. We're not quite halfway done, I think. Maybe we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, we're actually more than halfway done. Sheesh. Well, I'm proud of being able to put as many as I could. What's funny is at the beginning, I was like, oh man, there's so many on the right. And now there's definitely more on the left. So, or maybe we just keep going. Maybe we just, yeah, maybe we just do cover heroes up and we don't care. Because what's the difference? Like if we reset, you can't see him anyway. Mirana. Mirana's up there with Luna. She's also secretly a princess, but I think she's more of a girl boss, you go queen sort of situation. We're gonna put her here. Yeah, yeah, she's very off left. Monkey King. Definitely libertarian, definitely Chinese. His whole shtick is like killing God or something, or the Buddha. Is he killing Buddha? I don't know if his lore is the same as it is in the actual Journey to the West. I'm going to say that he's very libertarian, and that he's probably a little bit. He also, yeah, he's a little to the right. We're gonna put him here. Can we do the same trick that we did to make him go lower? No, we can't. Okay. Morphling. He's in the middle here. He is in the middle. Just trust. We're gonna do our best to try to make everyone at least a little bit visible. Yeah. Okay. Morphling is gonna be here. Another single issue voter who does not have anything to it's completely inconsequential and unbelievable. He went through the entire tax code just to like get out the typos, and then he wants them to repass the entire tax code typo free, all like 5,500 pages of it, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it. Those apostrophes that shouldn't be there, they will remain, and Morphling is very pissed about it. Morta. Bounty hunting ghost gunslinger girl. A lot of the bounty hunter type characters slash hitmen, which a lot of the bounty hunters in Dota truly are very much so on the libertarian side. I also think she's a little bit more to the left, but that's sort of up to interpretation. We're going to put her here. Somehow she agrees with Meepo, but she really wishes Meepo would use different language to refer to his friends. Naga Siren. If memory serves, Naga's whole lore is that she got kicked out of her job as a jailer under the sea in order to, or because like someone stole a cup. And the fact that she willingly went in exile to get that cup back tells me that she truly believes in the power of authority. As far as her like left or right wing alignment goes, who knows? She is a fish. We're gonna put her slightly here. Nature's Prophet is the top left corner. So he is very much so an individualistic in the sense of the economic idea. I think that he is very much so one with nature. And I think that that is going to be his most important political aspect. And I think that he has that sort of old school MTG elf thing of if you step on a twig and break it, we break one bone. That kind of thing. And he is very much so willing to be the one who breaks your bones. So we're going to put him in the very top left here. Necrophos, another highly religious character. Shout out to the Black Grail from Trench Crusade. We are going to put, he's not number one. The number one authoritarian character has yet to arrive, but don't worry, he will be here soon with aplomb. Actually, it's going to be a long time until we see him. Definitely authoritarian. I think he's also like, you got to let nature take its course. I think he doesn't believe in the economic power of the group. I think it should really be down to the individual, primarily so that people do not seek out medical attention for things that are wrong with them. Can't do that trick on this side. He's very authoritarian, though. Literally calls himself the Pope of Pestilence. He's very authoritarian. Night Stalker, more on the libertarian side. A lot of his shtick is to kill Phoenix, which is a pretty libertarian goal, to dedicate your life to murdering a bird. I think he's like down here. I think he believes in the power of organization for economic opportunities. He also somewhat exploits the working underclass of Dota with his shard by eating the creeps, who are truly the working class of Dota, constantly exploited by the heroes, who are the bourgeoisie. Fun fact. Nyx Assassin, another military super authoritarian as well. Probably a little bit further to the right. Not you, Nagasiren. We're going to put him up here. He is hyper authoritarian, though, I'll tell you that much. We don't have a whole lot of right-wing libertarians, though we do have a banger coming up. Ogre Magi. Oof. Single issue voter, ran for class president with the promise of making their brand name Cokes out of the soda machine in the cafeteria. Which, by the way, I grew up in America. I never went to a single school that had a soda machine. There was one that had a vending machine that only had Powerade and orange juice. That's the closest we had. But that was Ogre Magi's campaign. And it didn't work. He was too stupid. I'm actually going to say that he wound up splitting the ballot because there were two of them and they both registered independently because they didn't know how it works. So we're going to put him right in the middle here. This is the middle, by the way. Omni Knight. Another very authoritarian. I think he has like the sits backwards in the chair and tells you, you know who else got a bunch of farm in the lane? That's right, Jesus. That's who he is. Highly authoritarian for the church, but it comes from a good place. He's all right. He's like a camp counselor who has very pronounced political views that he keeps entirely to himself. He doesn't even argue on the internet about it. We're going to put him up here in this category. One of my acoustic panels just fell. We're going to ignore it. Oracle. He's a weirdo, man. Fate being predetermined automatically sort of pushes him away from libertarian, and he works with organizations in the form of PA's group quite a bit. So I think he's over here or so. This is a little bit further up the authoritarian path than you may believe, but we got to put him in the middle. Hello, AA. Let's give you a little bit more space to breathe, buddy. All right. I'll worry about that at the end. Outworld Devourer, or Obsidian Destroyer, or whatever his name is right now. What's the place where he comes from? It doesn't matter. He is by far the most authoritarian character in the game. No, he's not. He's not. He's down here. I keep bringing up that, like, oh, we're going to have the most authoritarian hero, and then misremembering which one it's supposed to be. But he's, like, right here. He's, like, up there in the pantheon of authoritarianism. So that's him. Pangolier. He is the super cool, super far right guy, but like when it comes to social issues, he's probably pretty chill. He's down here as well. Free love movement hippie who grew up to vote for Reagan. I think that's kind of where he is, to expose my Americanness. This is where he's gonna be. I don't know if this is exactly where he belongs, but this is where he's gonna be. PA. Very much so on the authoritarian side. It's difficult to say her political beliefs. I think she would attend drag shows for fun. Hello, Kat. We're going to put her here. Phantom Lancer. Definitely on the left, probably on the libertarian side. We're going to move him over here. We don't want to cover up too many heroes. Yeah, this sounds about right. He's also sort of a he's one of those guys who pretends to be apolitical, but then you actually get to talking with him and you realize that he like knows everything that there is to possibly know about every political stance, and he'll make you feel bad for it. Phoenix, a bird. I don't think Phoenix has political beliefs. I think he's another one of those. I do think, well, he sort of belongs to a bit of a shadow cabal, which is a funny name considering that they're all dedicated to the daytime with Caudal and Phoenix and Dawnbreakers. So he's sort of in cahoots. I also recently learned that Phoenix is a boy, and boys tend to be a little bit further to the right, I think. So we're gonna put him here. Primal Beast, another single issue voter who does not give a shit about anything. We're gonna put him over here. His single issue that he votes on is actually he is pro deforestation, so that there is more rocks on the ground for him to pick up and throw and eat, and that sort of thing. He is literally a mindless animal, so I'm gonna put him in the middle here, but it's an honorary in the middle because you know how it's getting a little bit crowded over here. Hello, Bane, how you doing? See those little teeth, your most iconic feature. Puck. Puck is way. Here's the thing about Puck. I think Puck is actually over here because Puck's whole shtick is like authoritarian, but also Puck is very much so. I think like anyone should be allowed to rise up that authoritarian thing. There should be a like individualistic motivation to do so. So I think Puck is going to be over here. You could also say that Puck should be on the libertarian side. I disagree. I don't think Puck would allow anyone to do anything without their own permission, their consent to do so. So we're going to put top left. Top left. Konnichiwa guan minas rhymes. Next up is Pudge. I think he's very much so like he doesn't care who's in office as long as like he gets to crack a beer at the end of the day. But then he winds up voting like entirely right wing on accident just because he likes their names more. I guess I don't know what to say. He is close to apolitical, but not quite enough. Pugna, definitely authoritarian. Kept Viper as a slave pet for a good long while. I also think believes in the power of organizations because he's also a religious character. Easy to forget, but he is actually the evil Dalai Lama. That is his kind of whole thing. Gonna move them slightly. There we go, get the eyes in frame. And then here's where Pugna's going to be. Pretty far on the right wing, might makes right situation. But, well, I guess I said that about Puck. Hold up. Nah, Puck is still highly individualistic when it comes to economic impact. And then we have Queen of Pain. She is going to be over here. She is hyper. Well, maybe she should be down here. I think she should be down here, in fact. I wish I could move Batrider a little bit out of the way. We're going to move Lena like this, and then Quap is going to be here. Yeah, that looks about right. In terms of libertarianism, I think it should go without saying the free the love movement or free love movement never end for Queen of Pain. And then she also agrees 100% with Batrider on free the nipple. So she's going to talk to him for a while and attempt to educate him at the feminist rally, but it will not work. Razor. Highly authoritarian. I think he is a little bit more accepting of individual economic impacts and decisions. So we're going to put him over here. He probably has similar reasoning to Doom, who curiously enough is on the opposite end because he wants more people to die. So he feels like individualism and allowing people to make bad decisions is probably within his own best interests. So we're going to put him over here. Richard. What is his deal? He's also, well, fallen aristocracy and he wants it back. So that's pretty authoritarian if you ask me. Probably a big believer in like hierarchies and social settings and situations. We're going to put him over here. We're going to use him to patch up this little hole. And then we're going to move some of these characters a little bit so that we can make room for Clinks's lovely little mouth. And LC can be peeking up from the ground. I like how this is both a... this is like assessing heroes' political beliefs while also attempting to make them all visible on this graph. I regret committing to the bit, but whatever. Ringmaster. Got to think for a second on this. He is a magical construct, and he's not a wizard, but like he kind of is. We're gonna say he's pretty libertarian. He's here for the laugh. He's a bit of the jonker. You know those images where it's like you weren't supposed to idolize them. Ringmaster is literally he's the jonker. Speaking of which, here is Rubik, the true jonker. Rubik is going to be our most libertarian hero of all. Peak libertarian, and doesn't just LARP as one either. If he saw people building roads, he would use spell steal to make it so that he could build his own roads too. He believes that no one should be inclined to help anyone else, but also that you should be allowed to steal. And if you stole it well, then it is rightfully yours. He is the most libertarian hero, by far. Sand King, a king, that means authoritarian. I do think he's a little bit more on the right wing. He's like a bit of a respectable old-timey conservative where, like, you know, he's probably bipartisan on a couple issues. He is the king after all. But on balance, and we got to keep Abaddon visible. But on balance, he's probably a little bit further to the right. And he's a king. He has king in the name, which makes him authoritarian by default. Shadow Demon. He kind of preys on hippies. He is like a cult leader, but I think that that doesn't make you align with hippie movements. I think it means that you're trying to co-opt them from the inside, and therefore I think he's very far right, but also a little bit libertarian. I think he's around here. This is ish. This is ish. Shadow Fiend. I think his whole shtick is that, I mean, he hunts down individuals who, he's the furthest right hero. He is. A big part of his shtick is that he literally hunts down people who go and try to form off their own organizations within the cult of demonhood, right? He literally exists to prevent individuals from having a large economic or environmental or social impact. So I do think he ultimately goes on the right, and he's very far right, the furthest right even. As far as libertarian and authoritarianism goes, I think he is the status quo enforcer. So I don't think, you could make an argument that he's higher up in the authoritarianism, but I want him to be the furthest right because it's kind of funny. Can we do the trick again with him? Oh, we can. Can we? We can. Look at this. A good chunk of this, the runtime of this video being me testing what I can do with the tier list maker alignment chart is cracking me up. It's very funny. There we go. There you go, Shadow Fiend. Hope you're comfy in there. Shadow Shaman. Quite, how much more do we have? Okay. Shadow Shaman is probably pretty left. I think he's also pretty libertarian considering his line of work that he did before he got into all of this. Beastmaster's gonna get covered up. It's fine. If someone gets covered up, they get covered up. Silencer, highly authoritarian. He's another character where, like, I want him to be the ultimate authoritarian, but there's one hero that is higher up. We're just going to keep Elder Titan's frown in frame. And move this down here so you can see OD's eyes. There you go. He's not number one. And if you haven't figured out who number one authoritarian is going to be, I don't think you ever will. Skywrath Mage. Definitely, I think, okay, I'm not just patching a hole, I swear to God. I think he is super right-wing. I think he has seen the problems with both libertarian and authoritarian styles of government based on his previous tenures in the Ghastly Eerie. I think he's going to go onto the right side, but he really struggles with his need to be an authoritarian. He's one of those guys who's like, you know, have you ever met a libertarian with a government job? And it's like, dude, you work for, like, the DMV. Why do you have those beliefs? And it's like, well, as long as the opportunity's there. And it's like, I get that, but like, how can you... That's sort of what I think Skywrath's shtick is. He's a libertarian who takes advantage of situations that the government existing offers him. Slardar. Also definitely on the authoritarian side. I'm not quite sure where he goes, though. I think no, for sure. A lot of his shtick is going to just be like, I support whatever economic policies allow me to attend the most home football games. And that's his primary concern when it comes to voting time. And I think that's a pretty right-wing thing to have. And also pretty authoritarian so that the government... Oh, wait, what's happening to Coddle here? I don't know. A pretty authoritarian stance to have. So we're going to do that. Plus his job is like literally a jailer. So I think you have to put him as authoritarian. even though he booped his job and Slark got out. In the starter video, I recently mentioned how he knew how to do his job, but Slark got away. So, oh, and it's Slark. Slark is very libertarian. He's also very right wing. I think he's like down here roughly. Highly libertarian. I mean, he's a career criminal. He probably would like for crime to be legal so he could continue doing it out in the open where no one could stop him. He also escaped from prison, which means that he clearly has an anti-authoritarian bent. As far as right wing goes, I think he might be. So there was the 6 guys who tried to escape. Was it 6? There was a number of guys that tried to escape, and they couldn't do it too good. He sort of went on his own. So we're going to put him here, a little bit to the left, because of his promotion of the validity of the individual. But it's really, you could come up with any number of things. Snap Fire, also old as shit, but I think she's kind of like the cool granny who doesn't care that you don't intend on having grandkids, if you catch my drift. We're going to put her a little bit to the left. We're also going to take a short break after this so I can drink water. All right, after hanging out with my cat for a bit, we are back. So Sniper, hell of a one to come back on. Earlier, I talked about the Facebook page called Libertarian Uncles with Asian Wives. Sniper is he's the guy who made the page. So Huskar is like a mod or an admin or whatever they have on Facebook. And then Sniper is the guy who actually made the damn page. So we're going to put him over here, and we're going to use the trick to make him a little bit further in the corner. If anyone is into front-end web development, please tell me how the hell I'm able to do this. Okay. And then Huskar was like right next to him. So like they're kind of in the same. They somehow agree. 2 heroes that you hate laning against in the mid lane agree politically. I'm so sorry to say, but they have formed a block. Spectre. Probably right wing. Another big time status quo enforcer. Her goals are all individualistic, though, which I think makes her a little bit more libertarian and also maybe a little bit further to the left. Is she here, actually? She might be here. I'm going to put her here. Spirit Breaker, definitely more on the right wing. Definitely believes in enforcing political and societal beliefs on other people. We are going to scooch him a little bit further in. We're going to scooch a couple heroes further in using this little trick that we've developed. I hope my mouse clicks aren't annoying you too much. There we go. He's gonna nestle right in here. I do think he is more on the libertarian side, though. I couldn't tell you exactly why I think that, but I do think that he believes in personal choice, such as the ability to charge people under tier 3 towers. I think that is something that he would support. That is his one single issue that he votes based entirely upon. So there you go. Storm Spirit. He is the only spirit that is not only not authoritarian, but that is so far libertarian that he's like down here. He also is like, he is the LGBT friend that Meepo calls slurs for fun. He is a huge dirtbag left member, but he's like a cool trendy one, and he hides the fact that he listens to Adam Friedland and Nick Mullen every week from his other friends. So he's going to be over here. Put him down here. Try to leave a little bit of space. Sven. Also quite libertarian. Remember, his whole shtick was messing up Chen's order. As in, he put the wrong kind of burger in with his meal. He's definitely libertarian, but I also think he is right-wing still. I'm not 100% sure why I think that. He should be a little bit... let's move some people to make a little bit more room so that Sven doesn't look quite as... He's definitely not in the Asian Asian uncles with libertarian wives. The other one, he's not in that group quite, but he's there. Techies, also very libertarian, probably also on the left side. Can we move Marcy up a little bit to make room? I think we can. That'll do. That'll do. That's where he goes. Definitely libertarian as far as his business or their business model, and also they, them. So definitely on the left side as well. Templar Assassin. She is down for the temple. She is quite authoritarian. She is probably right wing. I'm going to put her here, and then we're going to scooch Coddle over even more while also sucking his face into the dirt. Coddle, by the way, the biggest Joe Biden fan you've ever met for some reason. We're going to move him here. He kind of looks like Joe, you know? Terror Blade. He's also in the Facebook page for Libertarian Uncles with Asian Wives. He's also down here as well, and we're going to do the trick once again in order to conserve space. Conserving space, also a notable thing for people in this quadrant, unless it's their space, that they will buy 40,000 acres and then never plant anything on it in order to preserve nature, they say. It's really just them being lazy. Tide Hunter. Definitely on the right. Power of his organization, works for Mailron. Is he down here in this quadrant as well? I don't think he's quite as libertarian. I think he's like up here, sort of. If I'd planned this out from the beginning, I probably would have been able to get everyone on this chart very cleanly, but I can't. So, and then Timbersaw. Timbersaw is also part. I swear to God, I'm not just doing this to patch holes. I promise. He's also down here in the in the libertarian uncles with Asian wives. It gets harder to say every time I say it. Tinker, mad scientist, but not a magician. Probably more on the authoritarian side, given his stance on other heroes and other people in general. We're going to move Anti-Mage over here so we can make more space for him. That's where Tinker goes. Tiny, staunch environmentalist. Staunch environmentalist. He's probably over here as well. Probably more on the left side of things, probably a little bit more authoritarian, but he's probably quite chill. Overall, a respectable guy to talk to about politics. He's probably very well informed and will still consider you to be a person worth talking to, even if you disagree with him. Tree and Protector, another staunch environmentalist. Goodness gracious, we might have to cover up Dark William. We'll find a way to do it. Can we move her down here? And make Beastmaster's hole even smaller? There we go. We nailed it. Okay, yeah, something like this. I don't think he has many political beliefs beyond this. I don't think he's necessarily libertarian or authoritarian, but he does smoke weed like crazy. This guy's a stoner. Troll, single issue voter. He wants war. He is a, what's the term, kitty hawk, when like you want war but you're not willing to actually devote resources to fighting? That is not troll. That is not troll. He wants war so that he can go fight in it. He is very much so a war hawk, and that puts him on the authoritarian right side. Let's try not to block out Bloodseeker too much. He's definitely over here. That's Disruptor. Let's get Disruptor's beautiful face in, but we can't block Bloodseeker. There we go, something like that. Tusk. Ooh, what is he, man? He's probably also an alien single issue voter, but his vote is like, you should be allowed to explore ancient ruins. Because that's what he is, right? He's like a treasure hunter, but he's also like a barroom brawl guy. He might be another one of the Come Town podcast listeners, now that I'm really thinking about it. We're gonna put him here, because we can still mostly see people. Don't block out too much of Clockwork. Clockwork over here. There we go. Underlord. Highly authoritarian, for sure. Definitely on the right wing. He's probably over here somewhere. Can we move Troll to make room? A little bit. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I love how this has become a contest to see if I can make every hero visible. Okay. Undying. What is his deal? He kind of just wants everyone to die. That's a pretty authoritarian thing, but he will win in the end because everyone dies eventually. He's probably more on the libertarian side because he promotes people doing things that they would die from. Probably also a little bit towards the right, but like not heavily so. Maybe something like this. Yeah, that looks about right for him. Ursa, this is devolved. Ursa is authoritarian, believes strongly in the pack and the matriarchal society that he comes from. Is he like here? Hereabouts? Covering up Sand King, which makes me feel a little bad. I mean, look, if a hero gets covered up, they get covered up. I think he's somewhere around here. Maybe even a little higher up, actually. Hold up. Can we He's probably like here. This is probably where he belongs. He's very authoritarian and solidly right. That's all I know. Vengeful Spirit. So her whole thing is she really wants to take the crown back for herself, and I guess that sort of happened in Crownfall, although the Vengeful Spirit you play as in the game is sort of a separate story entity from the one that exists in Crownfall, which is kind of weird, but I won't get into it. Uh, but she also hates positions of authority because of what happened to her and the reason she fell there. So I think she goes here. I think. She's definitely on the right, though. She definitely believes in the power of organization over the individual when it comes to making social and political and economic decisions. Venomancer, definitely a liberal, definitely in the Facebook page. We're going to put him over here. I'm going to try to make some space. Who's he on top of? Monkey King? If there's one hero we're going to cover up, it's going to be him. Viper. Viper is probably on the authoritarians. Is he? I think he's libertarian because a lot of his lore came from breaking out of Pugna's cage, so he clearly believes in personal autonomy, even if you're not necessarily in a position to enforce it yourself. He's probably over here as well. Covering up anyone, no, that's fine. Even if I am, who cares? Me. Next up is Visage. Hello, cat. My cat is here. Susult now. Visage. Has kids. Probably a father against drunk driving. I can't remember who the other hero was. Oh, that was Enigma, right? Enigma was against drunk driving, so he's probably over here in this group. Probably a little bit more aggressive in his enforcement of his beliefs. We're gonna put him up here in firm off left territory. Void Spirit, also sort of up here with the other spirits. Storm Spirit really was a bit of a odd duck in that group. Probably even more authoritarian, though, because of his whole thing with the Great Confluence. He's a little bit more similar to Earthshaker, but he probably comes at it from the leftist perspective of we need great individuals to do so. He is definitely a strong believer in great man theory, if you're familiar with that as a political history thing. Okay, Warlock. So Warlock is actually a treasure hunter explorer. He is Indiana Jones, in case you forgot, which definitely puts him in the libertarian side of things. He's also into pilfering things from ancient civilizations, which makes me think that he's more on the right end of the spectrum. That sounds about right. We're going to put him over here with Venno. He can hang out. It's up for debate, though. I think he also could be a father against drunk driving. He wants the golem to grow up in a safe society. But I do think he is definitely on the libertarian side due to his career choice. Weaver, another, like, god of the world. I think he's over here. He's highly authoritarian. I think his left and right political beliefs go completely one way or the other. I think he's a matter of extremes. Wind Ranger. Definitely on the left. Definitely on the left. She definitely shouts, "Go piss, girl," whenever someone says they have to go to the bathroom. I don't think that indicates anyone's particular political beliefs, but I do think it correlates with being over here. We're going to do this, and we're going to move Jakiro even further down. Probably a little bit more on the libertarian side, but definitely a part of the environmentalism pack, just as long as the other ones are. Winter Wyvern. Another old lady with weird political beliefs. We're going to put her up here, but she knows to stay quiet about it, to not make other people uncomfortable, which is a good thing for her to learn how to do. Make Bloodseeker's smile more visible. Witch Doctor. Definitely a libertarian. He's up there with the rest of the mad scientists. But I think he's like, he's over here. And that's not just to patch a hole, I swear to God. It's not. It's because, let me justify it to justify patching the hole. I think he is like organizational based, and I think that if there was an organization that would allow Witch Doctor to practice in a controlled environment and distribute it among the masses and establish power for the community that he belongs to, even if that community is sort of a weird extent, he would start Big Pharma. That's what I'm trying to say. Witch Doctor would be a pro-Big Pharma guy because, hey, they make the vaccines and those are good. Wraith King, the most authoritarian. He is the king. He is the king. He is such a king and such an authoritarian that his own heir is himself. And that alone should tell you how authoritarian he is. It kind of makes me mad that I had to wait this long to put him up there, but that's where he is. And finally, we have Zeus, who I think is also right-wing authoritarian. I think he's around here somewhere. We're going to put him here and just barely not cover Coddle and Sardar. So there we go. I'm not even going to bother trying to make sure that everyone's visible. You can go ahead and parse where your favorite hero is. I'm going to take a screenshot right now. You got to hear my keyboard. I have MX Cherry Blues. So there you go. This is every Dota 2 hero placed on a political compass. Reminder that authoritarian and libertarian is their stake on how much the government should be involved in social issues. Left and right is individual versus collective-based economic decision-making. I talked earlier in the video about how you should just go look it up. I imagine a lot of people will not look it up and then get mad at me because it doesn't confine to their own country's opinions of what left and right is, but that's fine. You can be, you can call it rage bait or engagement bait or whatever you want in the comments, but here you go. This is every single Dota 2 hero on a political compass. Peace on planet Earth.